Welcome to a brand new Third and Wrong video. My name is Dylan, and today we are going to be talking about the Indianapolis Colts and the draft needs that they have coming up, going into the offseason with the free agents that they have, all that good stuff. So we are going to be talking about what their needs are, but also some of the things that they might look forward in the future to address before it becomes a need. So with this video, we're going to be looking at the SPO board of the contracts, but we're also going to go into PFF and do a little mock draft just to kind of show you what I think the Colts can do with the draft this year. It's very exciting. They got a lot of options and they have a lot of cap space. So the Colts have a big year coming up. They got a lot to do to build this team up for Anthony Richardson and just get this team back into the playoffs. It's been a long stretch where the Colts haven't had a lot of success. And so the time is clicking. The time is going on. We need to get this going on right now with the Colts. It's not a wait and see kind of thing. And that's what we're going to be doing today. See how the Colts can get back into running the AFC South again, getting back into the playoffs and making a deep dive into the playoffs and, challenge maybe the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills for, a top AFC team because they got the quarterback to do that potentially, as long as he's healthy. So I think it can be done, but I do want to say also, for those that have watched my last video, I am very grateful for that. We had a lot of views for our channel, relatively, a few hundred views. But we also gained a lot of subscribers, so I do really appreciate that. If you're watching this for the first time and you want more content, I don't only do the Colts. I do a lot of other stuff, especially during the mock draft. And we got two other hosts that are here, and they talk about their own teams and also the NFL. So we get a lot of information out. And if you can give us a comment, I can't speak right now. You can like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us out a bunch. So please do that real quick. And then we're going to hop into SPO and look at what the Colts are going to be doing this year. So when I'm looking at what the team needs are for the Colts, I like to look at what we have here on SPO, which is a multi-year summary of the contracts on the team. So a lot of people see needs as something that needs to be replaced right now for this upcoming year instead of like a free agent or something like that. And that's definitely what free agency is for, is to fill those like pressing needs right now. And there's a lot of options that the Colts are going to look at. But what I'm looking at right now is who's under contract for 2025 and beyond for the Colts, because that shows you where the future lies right now and, what they can do to get prepared for when certain players are going to leave. So let's take a quick look at SPO here. It shows you the different allocations. Obviously, it gets less because that's just how contracts work. But one of the things I wanted to point out is the Colts right now are only paying $10 million at the max for quarterback all the way through 2026, and most of that's Anthony Richardson. The other things too is the Colts have a big investment in the offensive line and the defensive line as well, but that one is there's a lot of players on the defensive line, obviously. So those are the two biggest things for the Colts right now. Ballard has always preached trenches, 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 so I'm not surprised about that. So that's going to give us a good look of what the Colts are going to look at in this offseason and the draft, especially if they don't get a lot of like investment into the defensive line based on free agents. So it's possible they do that. It might be really smart just to get the wise money there, but we'll see. So first off, let's talk about the Colts quarterback situation. So right now, Gardner Minshew is an unsigned free agent. I think the Colts want to bring him back. I would be happy about it, but I could also see the Colts either one signing Minshew and just being happy with that, or what I would prefer is they sign Minshew, let Sam Ehlinger kind of just go his own way, and then let's work on who is it? The Ravens situation where they have a quarterback that's very similar to Lamar Jackson. I would like to see the Colts try and do that. That's going to be a very specific quarterback in the draft. I don't know if the Colts are going to be able to swing on, but that's a potential down the road. So Anthony Richardson is the only quarterback signed in 2025 at the moment. So that is a position where it's not a first round need, obviously, because of Anthony Richardson. But in those later 4 to 7 rounds, I think the Colts would be smart to add another quarterback. Whether they stick with Ellinger or not, I think it would be smart to just add someone, get some competition in, and hopefully that person shows to be a little bit more promising than Sam Ellinger is right now. So nothing against Sam Ellinger, just is limited, and we've seen him play. That's why we have Anthony Richardson. With the running backs, so there's two running backs under contract in 2025. Jonathan Taylor because of his new deal, and Evan Hull because he's a very recent draft pick. Zach Moss is a free agent right now. I think the Colts would be wise as well to add him back into the fold. I don't think he'd be extremely expensive, but I could see someone preferring to give him a starting role over the Colts. So I think the Colts obviously have Jonathan Taylor. Another team might see Zach Moss having a bigger role, and that might be where Moss would prefer to be, is having a bigger role. So I would hope to get him back, but if not, Evan Hull had a good flash before his injury, and running backs, we can get some running backs to back up Jonathan Taylor. So not a pressing need at the moment. With wide receivers, there is only two fully signed in 2025 at the moment. As you can see here, there are restricted free agents. So they're either practice squad people or people that have been brought in as undrafted free agents, stuff like that. And so right now we really only can count on Pearson Downs being here in 2025. You can see right here, Michael Pittman Jr. is a free agent right now. I would be shocked if he doesn't return to the Colts because they have the franchise tag available. And I think Michael Pittman wants to live here, be here. I think he wants to help build Indianapolis and be with Anthony Richardson. So I can see a deal working out. I would be shocked if it didn't happen. So I feel like that's a 99% deal right now. So like I was saying though, this is like looking forward to 2025. The Colts have two guys that are solidly under contract, most likely having three. So realistically, the Colts have three starting wide receivers right now. This is something that they can build up, but I don't see it being a need. I just see it as a BPA option in the draft. So if there's someone there that's like, holy crap, why not? Like, why not just get this guy in here? He's gonna steal someone else's job, and we're in an even better position by taking this dude. That can happen, but I don't think it makes it a need for the draft coming up. And we do have some backups, some people that they've been around the system for a while. I can really only see DJ Montgomery having a substantial role, and Ashton Doolin coming back from his injury. I think he would have a substantial role as well, especially on special teams. But that's the count. But right now, not a pressing need for wide receiver. It would be nice to improve, but it's not a need. It's a BPA option for me. With the tight ends here, we got a lot of tight ends. Everyone besides I think Tomlinson and Murray have shown a lot of promise or have been reliable in the past. Jelani Woods is coming back from an injury. Will Mallory had some pretty nice catches and yak yards this year, which is pretty crazy. And Ogletree is in a sticky situation. We'll see what happens with his off the field issue at the moment. I'm not going to speak on much of that, but we have three tight ends signed through 2025, so definitely not a need. I think Jelani Woods, Cranston, Mallory, and Ogletree provided enough receiving threats that we don't need a tight end this year. Again, if Brock Bowers is something that we choose to do, I wouldn't be super surprised. It's just not a need. It would be like wow, this guy is the best player in the class, and he's here at 15. Let's get him. So I can see that potentially happening. I don't have it as my number one expected option right now. After that, we have the offensive line. Again, like I said, the biggest commitment right now on the board is for the offensive line. Obviously, we got Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith locked up till 2025 on some fat contracts. But we also have a starter, Bernhard Ryman, here as well, who is going to end up getting a big deal as long as his progression follows the track that he's on right now. Bernard Ryman is I would say, top half of the league left tackle at the least. He actually looks a little bit better than that, but again, he's still young, and we can see, he can progress and further his skills, and he could be our left tackle for the future. But obviously, that's up to him working, progressing and all that kind of stuff. But we also have Blake Freeland and Jake Witt signed under 2025. Those are our backups right now. The biggest pressing thing is center with Ryan Kelly. I love Ryan Kelly. He's one of the top centers in the league. He made the Pro Bowl. Um, I would love to keep him around, but this is a player that I think could potentially be seen as a replaceable in the future guy. So right now, right guard and center aren't super locked up for 2025. I could see them adding offensive line talent in hopes that they are a cheaper replacement for Ryan Kelly and whoever's at the right guard right now. So those are some options to look at, but I wouldn't expect anything in the first round for offensive line. I would say highly likely in the second and third rounds, as long as there's someone that fits their mold. With the defensive line, the Colts, again, this is their second biggest investment right now, is the defensive line. For a great reason. Obviously, Chris Ballard, our GM, loves the trenches. So, DeForest Buckner, this is the last year of his deal. So, I would like to see a deal done this year just to kind of get that out of any concern. But also, our number 2 guy, Grover Stewart, needs a deal. He has earned it. He's one of the best defensive tackles right now. He's amazing when he's on the field. So he definitely deserves a contract. Hopefully the Colts are the ones that pull the deal on that, or not pull the deal, but that they seal the deal on that for Grover Stewart because he's earned it. But we got Adebawore coming up into the system, I guess. And we have a few other options here. So Samson Ibukam, and then Adebawore and Eric Johnson and Titus Lee are under contract for 2025. But really, only Ibukam has shown himself to be a starter right now. Adebawore is still a projection. He's super athletic, but he still has to get on the field and prove himself. And Eric Johnson and Titus Lee are not starters at the moment. They've had some flashes. Actually, Titus Leo hasn't had any flash because he got injured, so we still have to see from him. But everyone else, they're not here in 2025 yet. So this is a big area that I think the Colts are going to attack in this draft. Not only because it's a need, but you can also save a lot of money by picking this position in the first round because you can get someone that relatively deserves a $10 to $15 million a year contract by the end of his second or third year, but you're only getting them for a couple million. So this is a huge target for the Colts, in my opinion. One, you got Buckner and hopefully Grover Stewart to kind of lock in the inside, but then you just got to stash this arsenal of edge rushers. Kwity Paye is great. He's had some injury hiccups. Same with Odiangbo. I think he's shown that he's going to be a really solid DN. And then you have Tyquan Lewis, who can stay or can go. But this is something that the Colts need to address because it's nice having 2 good edge rushers. But if there's a chance that they can get either a Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, or one of my favorites, Leatu Latu from UCLA, I think that is the biggest red sign need that the Colts have right now. And it's crazy to me that everyone's saying cornerback, wide receiver, tight end, and it's just like this is what Chris Ballard's going to do. It's this defensive line, most likely edge if one of those 3 fall to him. And I could see him reaching for someone like a Darius Robinson or trading down in hopes of getting a Darius Robinson. So there's a lot of options here, but to me, this is the red sign, neon sign. This is what the Colts are going to draft. Whether it's, maybe they miss out in the first round or maybe they get a great BPA pick in the first round. but I would be shocked if they don't try to add more and more fuel to this defensive line. And then that brings us to the linebackers. We only have Isaiah Land, who was a late installation into this linebacker crew. Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed, I am assuming they will be getting deals eventually, mainly because they deserve it, and because we need them. They fit the scheme extremely well, and they have been able to produce super well as well. So, Speed and Franklin, I hope we can get into 2025, but we only have one backup linebacker in 2025. So, this is a spot I can see Ballard, going a fourth or fifth, sixth round pick and adding a couple linebackers just to add more fuel into this. I really like the linebacker out of Notre Dame, big hair guy. I really like him. I could see him being a Ballard guy, especially with special teams production. But we'll see. I don't think it's a huge need. I think it's a future. Let's fill this in with the later rounds because that's where the linebacker value is right now. After that, we have secondary as a whole. But I broke it down here in my own list. We only have two starters in 2025 with Julius Brents and Jalen Jones as corners. The other one here was, let me see if I can see it. Amir Speed. He was really only a backup this year. Hopefully he can maybe increase his value, but we'll see. So as far as cornerbacks go, we don't have one. We have one really solid corner. We got a potential corner in Jalen Jones, but we have to lock up Kenny Moore, who is our slot nickel corner. He is the best corner on our team. He excels in the slot, so we could hopefully see him be re-signed this year. But I could see where they've had some contract issues in the past. Kenny Moore is going to say, "Let me just prove it on the market and let me see what I can get." So hopefully the Colts can re-sign Kenny Moore. But that's another target is Kenny Moore. Do the Colts look to maybe find a nickel in the draft? That's someone I'll be talking about here in a little bit too. And then safeties, I have two safeties for 2025 with Nick Cross and Rodney Thomas being starters. Daniel Scott was a recent draft pick but was hurt, so we'll see. Super athletic dude, special teams kind of guy, so I'm sure he's part of the plans. But so far we have Cross and Thomas staying. Julian Blackman would be our best safety, but he is also, like Kenny Moore, going to hit the market. The Colts could move on from him just because of his injury history. He was injured in college and he's been injured in the NFL. It's hard to count on the dude. Phenomenal player when he's on the field. If they make a fair deal, great. But if not, I can understand parting ways. So that leaves really, with the DBs, that's something that they can replenish. They can always improve on. If you're drafting, really you're looking for, can this player win a spot on our roster? So we'll see how that works out. But right now we don't have we don't have a pressing need there. All right, so let's change gears here. We are going to be talking about the mock draft now that I was mentioning before. What I have set up is a 4-round mock draft because really anything after that, it's super hard to predict, but also that's going to be more backups, special teams, big swings, players that I know I can't predict. And I can kind of show you some of the picks that I really like right now. But we can also talk about things that would be fun. What would be exciting to see with Anthony Richardson? What would be exciting to see with our defense? So let's move over to that screen real quick. So right here, you can see I have the Colts pulled up. And this is just going to be super fast. So it's going to go through all the different players. So real quick, let's just make sure there's nothing super crazy here. I feel like a lot of these players will be gone before we get there, but a lot of corners, and I think Fashanu is most likely going to be gone by this point. But what I was playing around with earlier is between Dallas Turner and Jared Verse. I think that's a real conversation here. Like I was talking about before, the defensive line is something I expect the Colts to put a lot of investment in this draft. So I was watching film with him. Honestly, either one I'd be excited for. I personally think the Colts would go more with Jared Verse. A lot of it is because I think he has a little bit more like of a step to his game, and he has just a little bit more aggressiveness, is what I see. Which could be could be a knock in a way because he might be you know moving too fast to really set up things and stuff like that. I don't really see too much of an issue with it, but I personally think that the Colts would prefer to have Verse in the situation. But at the end of Dallas Turner, it's like it's not a big deal. I think there's three edges that I really like, and they're all stacked up right here: Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, and Leatu Latu. I really like Latu because of his length. But the strength part is something that I think would be considered as well. I think just what the Colts have been missing is someone like a Jared Verse or a Dallas Turner or a Latu. Honestly, any three of these can go. I think just the edge of the ceiling goes to Verse, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go Verse here, and so we're gonna storm through these next few picks. Um, so DJ Tampa is a very, very interesting player. I really think he's going to go in the first round, but if he doesn't, snatch him up real quick here. Just to show you some other options, though, we could go with wide receivers. I like Wilson and Worthy here. Another corner opposite of Tampa that we could do is Mike Sainstrill. I really like him. He has a lot of versatility. Michigan corners have had a lot of versatility lately. But I feel like Sainstrill would be able to fit a role immediately. But he could also be a very solid heir to Kenny Moore if we sign him to like a 1 or 2 year deal, or just potentially be a replacement if we can't get a deal done with Kenny Moore for whatever reason. But going here, I think with the way that the board is set up, if DJ Tampa is here, I would love it. He's a tone setter corner. He has a lot of ideal traits. I think he would be a monster in the scheme that the Colts have. Plus, I think he will fit a lot of the measurables, a lot of the athletic output that the Colts have like really looked for lately. So I'm going to go TJ Tampa here if he's on the board. If not, then the conversation shifts more to okay, do we really want to add an exciting young wide receiver to a still young wide receiver core while we're getting this thing going with Anthony Richardson, or do we want to kind of bolster some of our needs? Kyrie Jackson's another one that's super interesting. High recruit from Alabama, transferred to Oregon, had some good success there, but I think he's coming in a little bit lower than a lot of people thought before the year started. We could go safety. We could, work on more offensive line here. Christian Haynes, Amagaji, Braylon Trice is another. If we didn't go edge, Braylon Trice would be a good option here too. Aurora, gosh, that name is rough. Rook Alec Clemson is another interesting prospect too because of that defensive line prowess that he brings. Sorry, I'm just not talking great. Other people: Johnny Wilson, Xavier Leggett. Malachi Corley. I think he goes in the first round. But a lot of these wide receivers would be interesting too. Johnny Wilson, I am really intrigued with. People say he's wide receiver or he's a tight end. I think he's just Johnny Wilson. You draft him to, be a 6'7" target. Whether you can get him to block, great. If that's out on the edge, or if it's in tight, like great, cool, whatever. Don't worry too much about what the name of his position is, or really like, do you really want to add more weight to him or whatnot? Just bring this dude in. It's kind of like I'm gonna say he's kind of like the offensive version of Kyle Hamilton, where the size doesn't make sense for whatever he's doing, but it works. I like Johnny Wilson a lot. Huge target. There's things that he can work on, and being 6'7", it's you are gonna have issues with lateral quickness and things like that. But Johnny Wilson is very smooth, very dependable wide receiver from the games that I've watched. It seemed like he was getting targeted 20 times a game, and it's because he's 6'7". Like, the Colts have been adding these just ridiculously tall prospects on the tight end, but also wide receivers. They got 6'4", 6'4". Obviously, Josh Downs is shorter, but they have been leaning towards size, and adding a Johnny Wilson would just make it keep away ball with Anthony Richardson, who's I think 6'4". It would just be thrown above everyone's heads because the NFL has gotten smaller, it feels like. So that's a very interesting player, I think, just because of the versatility that he has as far as like he could be a wide receiver, he can run over the middle, he can moss someone in the corner, he can do a lot with his freakish size. So I would be very tempted to get him, just work out what is Johnny Wilson's game, what's it going to look like with Anthony Richardson on the field, and let's see what we can do to work this out. Who cares what his position name is, because it doesn't really matter. However, to be more realistic, I don't think that's what the Colts are going to do, because there's a lot of talent up here. Before that, I think TJ Tampa is a great option for the Colts and what they are going to be looking for. So in the third round, we've gone edge, we've gone corner. A lot of the people that I was just talking about are gone now. So we could start looking to fill some other needs. Hitchens would be someone that I think could start over a Rodney Thomas, or Nick Cross potentially, just whatever he fits in that safety room. We can look to add Mahogany. Blake Corum would be really fun, and just pairing him up with Jonathan Taylor would be electric. But there's some more sensible things I think we could do here. Just looking at this, one of the players I really like is Liu Fao. Maurice Liufau, probably how it's pronounced. I look at this dude as a Colt. He has the juice, the energy that you want from a linebacker. There's a lot of these linebackers that are here to just lay the lumber and act tough and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, I really like the energy Liufau brings, because he's all over the field. It doesn't matter where the ball is, he's gonna be there, and he can lay the lumber. He can, make an interception. He's very cerebral when it comes to his play style, because he can, when he's rushing a quarterback that's scrambling, he can time the throw enough to put his hands up and knock it, even if it's out of his reach. He's a lot of energy. He's all over the field. I think he fits the size that the Colts would be looking for. I think he fits the speed. I think he just fits a lot of the things that the Colts would be looking for. You can, kind of put him behind EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin for now. And then, he's your sub package linebacker, because he's just all over the field. Or, he's someone that you can just rely on special teams for the first 2 years. And then after that, he's the dude when, EJ Speed or, Zaire Franklin move on for whatever reasons. So I really like this dude. This is someone that I wouldn't be shocked that the Colts go and get, especially if he falls into the fourth round and he's just there. It's like, okay, let's just do this and get it over with. But I don't want to start reaching too much, because again, it doesn't feel super likely that that's how that's going to happen. Jalen Wright would be an option here too if we really, struck out on Zach Moss. Can't really get a running back to come in to play next to Jonathan Taylor. Again, that's an option potentially in this range. Third round, fourth round is kind of where I would expect them. Also, quarterback options are going to start being a real thing, because you need a backup quarterback. Gardner Minshew is great. I hope we sign him. If not, there's things that they can do in this draft. I don't think Michael Pratt's going to be it though. So, just going off with, kind of fitting things where I think they might fit. I'm really tempted by the guards McCormick and Mahogany. Sounds like a great furniture company. But let's see here. You know what? Let's just go with Louis Fowl for right now because I think he would be really, really fun to watch on the Colts. Um, okay, so this is where I think what would be fun with Anthony Richardson comes into play. Um, we can go Malik Washington. I honestly, he is a great wide receiver. I think he's realistically going to be gone before now at this point. Um, Very high production in college. I think he shows a lot of really solid traits. I think he works his way up the board. So I'm essentially going to just count him as not being here. Otherwise, I probably would go with him here. But the name that I saw earlier is the one that I think I'm going to go with Anais Smith. This dude is speed. Like this dude, that's what he is. It's speed. Like him, Josh Downs, and Michael Pittman. One, you would have two people that can take off the top of the defense, that can work underneath, that can be yak guys. Then you have Michael Pittman, just steady, what Michael Pittman Jr. is, solid dude. Moss and dudes down the field, or he's also a good yak guy as well. But Nia Smith paired with Anthony Richardson's arm just reminds me of the Rahid Shaheed or just those guys that really like if they can just get that one step on a safety or that one angle on a safety or a corner and they're just gone. And Anthony Richardson being able to hit that down the field, like, oh my goodness, like this would be a fun pick for the Colts. So going Anais Smith or Anais Smith, I forget how you pronounce that one. So that's our first one here. Jared versus TJ Tampa. Really heavy on defense from the get go. They don't really like my Luafau pick, but everywhere else, I think this is great value. If this is how the board falls, this is phenomenal. One thing I always have to kind of caution with PFF stuff is if you know the dude is gonna be gone for the most part, and then you're getting Jared Verse, and then you're getting Terry and Arnold, and then you're getting Xavier Worthy, and you're getting all these dudes. It's like, okay, that's not really realistic. I think this is closer to being realistic than I see a lot of mock drafts. TJ Tampa most likely is gone by the pick there. And then Luafau is a little bit of a reach on my part. I'll be honest there, but I think it's a Colts type of reach, if that makes sense. So we went edge, corner, linebacker, wide receiver. It hits needs. It hits um, future needs, and gives us something fun to work with Anthony Richardson. So and then 5, 6, 7. I would expect a running back, a quarterback potentially in there. I guarantee you there's going to be an undrafted free agent quarterback in camp. They're always going to be looking for someone to move on from because Ellinger is great, but that was another coach. I could see where Dan Steichen's like, okay, we love the dude, but let's get someone that's gonna allow us to keep the same playbook relatively. So let's start another one here real quick. Just another fast one. Again, this is just the way that I've set up the board. It's gonna be a little bit kind of the same, but instead of going edge first, let's look at what we could do going a different direction. If we really wanted to get a cornerback to kind of just lock down that position across from Juju Brents, or potentially getting that exciting wide receiver in the first round, or adding basically a legit guard. We can turn a Faltanu into a guard, or even like a Jackson Powers Johnson, JC Latham, getting offensive line in the first round here. Tremendous value. We have a really expensive offensive line, and cutting costs at any turn is going to really help us out. So, the reason why I don't love going first round corners is because I just don't think the Colts see the value of that unless there's just that dude. And a lot of these guys aren't like a Sauce Gardner or even the dude with the Texans, Derek Stingley, where you're just like, okay, we can see him, relatively in the first year or two being that dude. I could see where these guys would be productive and keep the ball away from whatever receiver they're guarding to a point, but there's questions with all of them. I think Quinyon Mitchell is probably the one that's the stickiest, that has the most natural, look of that corner that can just take on anyone. But again, as I digress, we can go with a number of different options. Here, I don't think we're gonna reach down this far. I think just to be interesting and have a little bit of a shift or a shakeup, let's go with a where did that guy go? The Yeah, Troy Faltino. This would be someone that I would count on either being a guard inside of Braden Smith, or if for some reason he shines as a tackle and we can count on Braden Smith in as a guard. They've tried it before. Maybe that could happen, but just to kind of see what it would look like if we went offensive line early, would we be in a terrible position? Let's see here. Again, TJ Tampa, we took him last time. That would be really interesting. I do think if we're in this situation and Darius Robinson is not gone in the first round and not in the top half of the second round, I think the Colts snatch him up real fast. A good edge setter, good run stopper. He's got the size profile that the Colts are looking for typically. I think this would be a lovely pick for the Colts in the second round. So we took care of offensive line, we took care of edge. We could look at a corner here or a safety. But if we're in round 3 and Spencer Rattler's here, oh man, I would be tempted only because of the backup role that he could potentially play. Though the thing about it is, I think it wouldn't be the right move with Anthony Richardson. I feel like Rattler should be able to compete for a job, and he's going to be impressive in camp and practice and stuff like that. So I don't think the Colts are going to squash it. Obviously, if he's that dude, like, and you have 2 great quarterbacks, like, great, obviously take him. But again, I think this dude should be gone before now. And I don't think that the Colts are realistically going to draft Rattler. So I'm going to avoid that. I just think it would be really interesting to just stack it. But I think here, so we did edge, we did offensive line. Wide receiver would be super fun. So let's just take a wide receiver here. Thrash would be exciting. Great route runner. Oh, he's bigger than I thought he would be. At least he's listed bigger than than he looks. So let's just go Jamari Thrash here. Very exciting wide receiver. I think he produced quite a bit with Louisville, but he also, I believe, he transferred in and still had a great year, first year and everything. So we did edge, O line, wide receiver. Now do we look for a corner, or we look for just maybe a Will Shipley, just if we wanted to have some fun? Braylon Allen, I would expect us not to go for. I know the Jonathan Taylor Braylon Allen thing would be super fun for Wisconsin people. I think Chris Ballard went to Wisconsin. I think that would be really fun to do. I just don't think that that's what's going to happen. And the thing that's crazy is I almost would rather have Malik Washington over Jamari Thrash. I don't know why I didn't even look there. Sorry. Clear my voice. Let's see here. Cornelius Johnson is an interesting potential dude to get to. How about we go Kalen King? I think this dude was expected to be a lot bigger. You can see 2022 had a great year. This year, not so much. Looks like he lost playing time. Honestly, I didn't follow him too much this year, so maybe he did get injured. If I'm like, oh boy, he was getting drafted first round and he's just pinked. But I can see the Colts saying, you know what, let's see if we can get him back to where he was. So maybe we go with Kalen King here. Honestly, I do prefer the edge first. Going with I think we went with edge, corner, linebacker. I feel like that fits the Colts better, my opinion. So I'm going to end it there. Hopefully, this kind of gives you a look into the Colts offseason, what their what their outlook is, and where they're going to put different priorities on positions in this offseason. I think it's going to be really, really big. We did just get a big increase on the salary cap as well. Colts, I think, have the sixth most cap, so they can look to fill a lot of these needs with veterans and then just be able to pick BPA the rest of the draft, which would be very good because the Colts are good at doing that. So that's going to be it. My voice is gone. Sorry about that. But if you've stuck to the end or you just saw the end for whatever reason, please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. We've seen a big uptick in viewers and subscribers lately. That's really exciting. Gets me going, gets me excited for this off season. So help us out. If you haven't already done that, do that now, please. Other than that, take care and we'll see you on the next one.